Sound for the Gear Podcaster. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Troy Nababan and I'm sitting here in my studio in Perth, Western Australia. Currently outside it is 41 degrees Celsius. Joining me today, as every week, is the man, Uncle Leon Todd himself. Hey, go, buddy.
It is wonderful to be here. Also beating the heat in this Wahoo summer, Troy. How's that new air conditioner? Is it paying for itself on today only?
Well, look, the problem with this air conditioner is it currently in the frame at the moment. I was actually, quickly before I do that, I'm just going to work out what 41, that's 106 degrees Fahrenheit. It was 42 before, so just in case anyone wants to know how hot that is. No, aircon's not currently in shot. I didn't realize it was that hot outside. I was just sitting here doing my work, going about my day, and I thought I'm just going to go out for a little jaunt, get myself a coffee, and lo and behold, it is the surface of the sun out there. So that's kind of a bit poo bum wee. And then,
did you get a nice hot coffee on this hot day?
I did actually. I got a nice hot milky coffee, just to sort me out. Have you got air conditioning in that room, or is it just the big one back there? Does that just filter through?
It just filters through. Yeah.
Yeah, you feeling? You got the tank top.
I'm feeling great.
Sun's out, guns out.
Got a tank top on, but you know what? I'll put sunnies on, and we'll get straight into it.
Mate, take the tank top off. That's what the people want.
This looks like Speed Dealers Anonymous, doesn't it? Yeah, so welcome everybody. The tip for selling Goey is have these glasses and people just know. People just know. Isn't it funny that being in a band, it's one of the few, if the only professions in the world where people will just voluntarily give you drugs, whether you want them or not.
They just
and
want
like
to be
for the
part
record, I don't want them, but
yeah,
I'm always flattered when someone wants to give me just drugs.
It's a nice feeling to have. So
it's a perk of the job.
So anyway, Uncle Leon, it's a beautiful, Thursday afternoon here in Perth, Western Australia. And NAMM was on this past weekend, so we can talk about some new bits and pieces. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, sounds good. Did you gig on the weekend first? We got to decompress.
Did I? I did 2 gigs. I did. Yeah, they were okay. I did this
Excellent.
one. Oh, I won't say where it was. I better not. But let's just say, if you're going to do a gig at a venue between the times of 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. in that window, you should probably give the band a meal.
100%.
That's not unreasonable. More importantly, if you're not going to provide a meal, don't have everything on the menu be like $30.
100%.
So let's just leave it at that. The gig was otherwise okay, but I just didn't appreciate that.
That's like having to pay for a lemonade.
Oh my goodness. How many times did that happen to you? Play for a Coke or something like that? Ugh, $5?
Go, hey bro. Yeah, just a lemonade. Yeah, that'll be $5.
Profit margin
I have so
in the
many
toilet.
times gone, no, that's okay. You keep it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It just feels disrespectful. Like you get half a show. That one, it's $5 worth of lemonade, or you get half of my effort. That's how it works out.
And you get a $5 lemonade show. Remember what the rider was like when we played in Esperance?
Oh, that was just...
That was the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, didn't we get hundreds of dollars worth of food, each? Maybe not each.
Yeah.
I think Cam got 2 dinners, didn't he?
He did the 2 dinner trick. But also, I feel like it was a multi-night thing, and they said, what do you want in the rider? And when they said anything from the bottle shop, and basically what they bought out on night 1 was excessive, but they bought the same thing out on the subsequent nights.
Yep.
And those beers remained in Cam's fridge for years.
Oh, right.
Because we took them all,
as you do.
Packed them all up. And
Wait,
yeah.
Did you actually, how did you get them back to, I guess you just chucked them in the bag, right?
They just literally showed up with a carton of Corona each night. And, the Cam would have 2 beers and he was done, but plenty of beers going forward.
You know what I had in my fridge for years, and I kind of regret not keeping it, but when I saw Yngwie Malmsteen in 2006, I managed to get one of his undrunk Red Bulls, And
Yes.
which I knew the roadie, so I said, I want something. So he threw me a set list and he threw me an undrunk Red Bull. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then at the same time, because I was doing a bunch of roadie stuff, I was drinking a lot of Red Bull. So in my fridge, there were two sugar-free Red Bulls. There was one from Yngwie Malmsteen and one that I just bought, and I didn't know which one was which. So they unfortunately both had to. They both
So you smashed both.
I reckon I kept both cans for. Well, that was in 2006. I reckon they didn't get thrown out till about 2015, and I just went, you know what? It's probably not worth keeping these. So
there we go. We know Yngwie is a sugar-free Red Bull man, and what more do you need to know? That's it. This has been the Gear Podcast. Everyone can go home. But we made some predictions a few weeks ago about things that were going to come out for NAMM. So we may as well talk about some of them, Troy, and what we predicted and what we didn't predict. That was a very, very loud car driving past. What are some of the cool things that you saw?
Well, should we talk about that Synergy thing? We like Synergy over here. So the Syn 20, is that what it's called? Syn 20 IR maybe? I don't remember.
Correct.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So that picture was shared like a week before NAMM, so everyone kind of knew it was like something was coming. And we had a quick little squizzy do at the front panel and tried to ascertain what the knobs and buttons might do. And we were mostly accurate, I think. So it's just a 20-watt Synergy loader. I'm, power amp, I guess. I'm really surprised that it's got a clean channel in it. I thought at that size they might forego the clean channel, but it's just a clean with a tone control, I guess. And that's on the far left-hand side there next to the input jack. So that's really cool. It's supposed to be like a Fender-y sort of a clean. I've mentioned before, I really like the clean in my Syn 30. So, that's great. And then, you've got an IR loader in it as well, which you can use the whole box without having it connected to a speaker as well, which is great. You can just leave it on your desk and still run your Synergy
Very
modules.
handy.
So it's
Very
pretty cool.
handy.
It's very, very cool sort of a unit. Not that surprising. Like, I think we've spoken about it. I always forget what we speak about on here and what we speak about just privately.
Yeah.
But the Friedman IRX has, like, when you plug the software in, it has Synergy at the bottom of it. So it's like, it was coming, you know.
So does the Soldano Astro software.
Well, there you go. So it's not a huge surprise. It's just nice to see it's finally here. So that's going to be exciting, man. I'm looking forward to trying that. I don't think they've got a price on it or a release date yet. That's all.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because they also have they were showing the X88 IR, I believe they're calling it, which we also spoke about. That was kind of leaked. And yeah, it's, exactly what you expect. It seems like they're putting that power amp sim and IR loader in most of the products. So we want to know from the listeners and viewers, what do they think is going to come next? Are we going to get all these kind of mini heads and preamps with the IR stuff? Is that just going to be, in the having the ability to have a 4, 8, or 16 ohm cab? Right, that's not standard on all amps, but now if you build an amp without it, it's like, bro, why did you do that?
Yeah,
just kind of a general utility. So yeah, it
makes so much sense these days, man. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't do it, and even for nothing else. Like, I think to run ears, if that's how you're running your gigs, like to just be able to plug your thing in and have one like you could you could show up to a gig. And this is not just with Synergy, but like with anything like this, right? You show up to your gig, the sound guy's going to mic all your stuff, but you can just easily keep your own ears rig independent of everything else. Like that's awesome. That's really quick and easy. Just plug an XLR into your console, your little headphone console. Great, no sweat. So man, great,
pretty
very,
awesome.
very cool.
Did you see, while we're doing the did you see stuff on here? I'm just going to drag this one in for you, Troy. Did you see this? The mini Diezel?
I did. Didn't I send that to you? I think I sent that to you.
You probably did.
Yeah, you jerk. But no, that's...
So it's out of VHX.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the VHX is underneath it.
Oh, right.
But yeah, VH Mini. So
what's
it just
the
looks
VHX?
like a 2-channel.
I don't think I know the VHX.
It's a VH4, but with effects, like everything. It's a pretty interesting... It's like...
Oh,
it's basically,
sorry. Yeah. That's got the screen thing on it. Yeah, I know the one you...
Yeah. Which isn't news. They've been out for a while.
Have we talked about the fact that you've got a VH4 handy at the moment?
No. We have not spoken about it. People will have seen the video on the channel though,
Yeah.
but pretty good.
That was
Like,
weeks
it's
ago that they
definitely
came out now. So
Yeah.
how you feeling about it now?
Yeah, man, it's channel 2's great, channel 3's great. it's an awesome amp, you know.
Channel 1
Like,
and
channel
channel
1's
4 can
fine.
suck it or what?
The other channels are fine. You know, it's all very good, but yeah, those two are definitely a thing, right? And yeah, plugging into channel 3, you're like, yep, there's that sound. You know, when we did Ragdoll Rewound and all that stuff, and then when we got into rectifiers and we were saying, oh, it would have really been cool to have a recto handy when tracking that stuff.
Yep.
It's kind of how I feel about the VH4 now. Like, it would have been a really cool amp to have, you know, for the last 15 years.
Yeah,
Where it's just like, it just does a thing.
It's no wonder that they are ubiquitous with a lot of, you know, these like studios or session people. You know, it's a great amp because like Nielsen had one, right? I'm pretty sure I watched a video of his where he said like he had a VH4 and he just used it for everything, and it was kind of like kind of boring in that respect. So he sold it because, you know, it's kind of a go-to thing.
You know what it is? It is the matchless of high gain.
Right. Yep. That's
how that amp is just like, it kind of sounds like a Vox, but also it's just, you can use it for everything.
Yep. And shout out to Simon as well, who does watch these pods, who has a VH4 that was the only time I've had one in the studio and got a chance to play it. And man, that was the time, like his one made me want to go out and buy one immediately.
I remember you saying that actually, and just being like, man, it's a thing.
Yeah, it was so good. Interestingly, with that amp, because I remember, sorry to tangent already, but I remember with that amp, when he came in, I had my Marshall 412B cab set up, like with the good vintage 30s, whatever.
Nice.
And I was kind of like ready to record with that because that's what I always use. And he had a Randall Warhead, I think it's the Warhead cabinet, like oversized dime bag sort of thing. And I was like, oh, well, you know, they both have V30s in it. Let's just use my cab. Plugged it in, played for a while. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not really that into this sound. I'm like, all right, well, let's just, I think we'd gone to the effort to bring his cabinet all the way up the stairs. So we plugged that in. Man, it sounded so much better. Like through that oversized cabinet, I had a moment of like, man, I need an oversized cab. Funnily enough, one, it's on my list to buy, and there's a Messer one at the moment on Marketplace for like $900. So it's on.
Wow.
Yeah, there's just, oh man, there's always good stuff. I reckon you see an oversized cab come up locally once a year. So
yeah,
it's kind of like it'll happen eventually.
Yep.
But anyway, so just getting back, the VH, what is it called? The VH Mini?
Correct.
Yeah. So is that channels 3 and 4 or 2 and 3? Or like how are they running that?
I don't know. I haven't really seen much about it.
Just a mini Diezel.
Other than just a photo. So I wonder if it's because they do a VH2.
Yeah, I saw a VH2 like in the flesh about a month ago. But that looks
cool.
like the same or similar sort of size to a VH4, at least from a distance, just with less knobs.
My understanding is the VH2 has the gain channel on it is the third channel of the VH4, which everyone wants, and then it's a different clean channel. It might be the same clean channel as like the Einstein or something.
Gotcha.
Which I have demoed. It's pretty cool. And shout out to friend of the podcast and channel, Chris Brennan, because he pointed out, I did a video with a Hughes and Kettner core blade the other day. And I was like, I've never done any Hughes and Kettner stuff. And I had. There's the Rotosphere and the, it's like their preamp pedal, which I'm fairly certain he let me borrow and I did a video with. So
that's funny.
Thanks for holding me to account, Chris. I think I'll have to just pin that comment because I'm a dum-dum.
What an idiot.
What an idiot.
I was going to say quickly before we move on from all that stuff, we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. Did you see the Synergy Dr. Z Trainwreck thing?
Yeah,
That'll
that's
be cool.
exciting.
That's like, I mean, I guess they don't put modules out like every week, but I think the last one would have been the Friedman Deluxe, the BE Deluxe. So
correct.
This would be cool, like slightly different flavor. So I'm looking forward to hearing reviews on that. So moving on, like to some pro audio stuff, we'll jump around a little bit. Did you see anything about this thing, Uncle Leon? Do you know anything about this equipment?
Tell me about it. It looks very interesting.
Well, it's slightly less interesting in terms of what's new, but if you haven't seen it, I'll just quickly demonstrate, because Leon, for those of you listening, he's got the SSL controllers up, the studio controllers. So Leon, what you're looking at in that picture is there's the UF8, which is the 8 fader controller on the left. In the middle is the UF1, which is a single fader controller with a few other bits and pieces. And then the one on the far right is the UC one. So it's kind of like the SSL channel strip, like EQ section and compressor section,
cool.
as physical knobs and buttons and stuff. So that's what that is. It's a really cool like ecosystem for controllers, and you can put a bunch of them together and do various things, like a bunch of the UF8s and stuff together. But what's really cool is so they've got their plugins. They've got to work with the UC one. So that's the wherever you'll scroll past in a second, I'll point it out. But the one that's got the knobs and buttons for the EQ and compressor. So if you just stop there, the one on the far right there, you can see it's got those are the buttons for the EQ and compressor, and then the bus compressor. So SSL's got their own plugins that you can control with that controller, which is similar to Softube. You've got a console one, so it's like a box with knobs, and it'll control a plugin. That's all well and good. What's exciting is that at NAMM they announced that you can use that controller for other SSL style plugins. So it's not just locked into the ones made by SSL. It'll be the ones made by Brainworks, made by Waves, made by UAD, which is really cool because it's kind of like having a single purpose kitchen appliance, where that can be really, really awesome, but it takes up a lot of space. And so have you ever seen people's, it often is home studios, project studios, where they've got their desk and there's just so many different things on it. There's not just synthesizers, but drum pads, and there'll be various controllers and stuff. That's fine if that's easy for you, but sometimes it's just because it is a single thing that you can do with it. I use the SSL plugins quite a bit because they sound really good, but I use the Brainworks ones because I have them on my laptop in the studio downstairs.
Because you already own them, yeah.
Yeah, and also I've been using the Waves ones for years, so they're on a bunch of old projects. So yeah, to have one device that will control all of them is really, really cool. And I think that I think you can also use the compressor section to control other units. You can map stuff manually, and it will also auto map a bunch of stuff. So it's very cool. So you can the way all this works, without going really nerdy into talking about Mackie and Huey protocols and Yukon and stuff, because Pro Tools, which I'm a Pro Tools user, Pro Tools is kind of a dick with, or Avid is kind of a dick with letting people get in and do their shit, with controllers and stuff. So there's kind of interesting ways that you can use all these plugins and their whole 360 software, which is gives you a virtual mixer thing on the screen. It's all really kind of well integrated. When it was announced a few years ago, the controllers themselves, I was kind of yeah, whatever. But now with the flexibility of this thing, I'm a bit more interested in how I might be able to incorporate that into my own workflow. So that's kind of cool.
Well, on Pro Tools, Troy.
Yes.
I mentioned the other week that I'd gone full heathen and I was using Logic.
Oh, that's right.
Because you get a nice, generous 90-day free trial with it. Mm-hmm. It was fine. What I found really frustrating with it was when it comes to Pro Tools, actually making music with it, programming drums and virtual instruments.
Yep.
I've got that muscle memory just baked in. I can do it.
Yep.
It's really, I can do a demo track at the speed of thought, basically. Doing that in Logic was because I'm not trained on it, right? It's just, I have to think about all those processes. It was mentioned in the comment section of the last podcast that Universal Audio's free DAW Luna has the same key commands as Pro Tools.
Oh, right.
So I deleted Logic. Now I'm using Luna. And
nice.
You know what? I have to say, there's a few things that Pro Tools has that this doesn't, but the fact that it kind of integrates with UA console is awesome.
Yeah.
To turn up my monitors without reaching for the physical knob, I'd have to click on the UA console and turn it up. In Luna, it's just there.
Yep.
You just turn it up. The thing that you're tracking, it's these kind of, with the SSL thing, I can imagine having it just all integrated, having the hardware aspect where it's not, then you have to load up some preset on it where you can just kind of go and have it kind of be universal is an awesome feature.
The problem is that as time has gone on and we believe that everything is supposed to be like easier to talk to each other, the problem that has occurred is that everybody now has their own very unique ecosystem that they obviously make more money if you're just using UAD or you're just using SSL or just using Avid Pro Tools, whatever. And so they make it very difficult to cross-pollinate with this stuff. So the fact like SSL or whoever owns SSL owns like Slate Audio and Harrison. So there's another one in there too. So like all of those things are now a bit easier to access, but then to get like SSL and Avid to like be cool with each other is just not going to happen. And Universal Audio as well, who really like the last 10 years, the amount that they've skyrocketed in, but I mean they've been an established brand for so long, but like all the audio interfaces that they do and now having the DAWs and stuff, like they are just such an important top tier player in this sort of stuff. And you can do everything like. You can do everything with Universal Audio. They've got the modeling microphones. If that's the world you want to live in, you can do it very, very easily, which is pretty awesome. I know Butch Walker loves the Luna software. He talks about it a lot in some of his videos and hates on Pro Tools. So, you're not alone in liking a bit of Luna.
I mean, look, if you're already UAD'd up.
Yeah.
It's free. If you don't have a DAW and you want to learn things that will work in Pro Tools, that's also kind of cool. Like if Luna was your first DAW, you can probably go and use a Pro Tools system in someone's studio because it's all the same key commands and workflow.
The thing is, like, for what you do specifically and for what a lot of people do, you just pick the one that you want and use it because you're not talking to, like, you're not flying sessions around to different people.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe, like, if you're in a band and everyone is on, like, one's on Ableton and one's on Pro Tools and one's on Logic, it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. But, for what you do, if you're comfortable in that one software, that's awesome. Just don't use Reaper because that's lame.
You heard it here first, folks.
But I'm on Pro Tools because, as I've said many times to you and the podcast and everybody I know, every studio I've ever been in has used Pro Tools on a Mac. So rather than make my life hard, I know how to use the thing that everyone knows how to use. You know what I mean? It's just a fucking tool. It's like being able to chop a potato or something like that. It's I'm not. That's
or julienning a carrot.
So there you go. But I'm happy for you, man. That's very good. I don't have. Well, I've got the UAD satellite thing, but that doesn't have ins and outs to it. So had I had the interface. An interface, I probably would have tried it by now just to test it out, but it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like until I stop using that interface, it'll be fine.
Yeah, but you won't need to stop using that interface for forever. So, but also it's now native. Like it wasn't native for the first 5 years of its life or something, or whenever it came out. So, man, you can continue using that for as long as you like. The features in it are not as. The thing with Pro Tools is where it started. In terms of its original editing capabilities and whatever, it was awesome. But then as all these other, other doors kind of evolve, Pro Tools just grabbed all the ideas and chucked them on top of it. So it's just it does everything, but doesn't necessarily do everything quite as well. So for you, you're never going to need to use all of the film post-production shit because that's just completely irrelevant to you.
Yeah,
but it's built into there. So just use a piece of software that doesn't have that. It'll probably be easy to use. But
if you need it, it's there. Speaking about audio interfaces, did you see these? The i73 Heritage Audio.
Yeah, I looked at it. Firstly, it looks pretty ugly. I do like the Neve style knobs. That's cool. The two green things at the top, though, I looked at them. I still don't really understand what that is.
They look like things that you would,
They look like sponges.
That's the thing a child would. Yeah, that's the thing a child would swallow and have to go to hospital for.
Yeah, what's the deal? Is it just that it's what does it say? Heritage Audio i73 Pro 2-in 4-out USB-C audio interface with two 1073 mic preamps. Okay, that's cool, but what's the deal with the sponges?
Yeah. What are spongy boys?
Am I
Please
crazy?
tell me.
It doesn't seem to have any purpose. Maybe it does have a I've never seen a sponge on a piece of audio gear. Like
maybe it's like a direct monitor thing or something.
Well, yeah,
or maybe
like
it's like a pad.
That's the literal definition of a pad.
Yeah.
Not just the like minus 20 dB. But like, I'm not crazy, right? That looks like a fucking sponge. Is it supposed to be a windsock on top of 2 mic preamps that you can just talk into if it's a desktop thing? Like, in which case, I guess that sort of makes sense. But why? What's the point of that? Does it doesn't seem to? It looks weird, and I don't know. I can't read the description. I'm too far out.
Yeah.
I'm sure it must be in there.
Anyway, having the like 1073 Soul things baked in, I can see why people might be interested in that.
That's cool.
But yeah,
there's a couple of really high end 2-channel interfaces these days. Like Neve have the 88 series one. What's it called? The 88. It's like the 88R. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you get 2 channels of Neve 88 series mic preamps in a box, which is all most people need. That's mad. I was telling a student the other day about like my first M box, which was $700 Australian dollars, and it sounded like fucking terrible. But that's all you could get in that form factor.
Yep.
So
man, the M box, that's right.
So bad. The M box 2 is the one I had, but like to have a lot of people don't want to be nerds and have external 19-inch rack like mic preamps and stuff. And
exactly.
I find too, it's useful, but like the desktop brick looking things. So like Focusrite have the ISO 1. BAE had that like 1073 in a box thing. I can't remember what it was called. 1073. I'd remember it in a sec if it comes to me, but DMP maybe. They're kind of awkward. Like, it's like a single-use item in that respect, but your desk gets so cluttered just having these little bits, bits all over the place. So you just build it as a box. Like, it's a very practical thing. That thing just looks ugly. So don't buy it. No, I'm kidding. Buy it. Heritage are great. Heritage make very good mic pre's. I've used the 1073s a lot. Both the full-size one, the full-size modular Neve drop-in ones and the 500 series ones. They sound really, really good.
Yep. They are, you can go and watch the Eric Valentine video on the Fairchild. Was it Heritage Audio?
Yeah, that's right. He and the dude from Heritage, I think it was, had a bit of a beef, which was quite funny.
Now that's some quality audio nerding right there.
Oh, you just love to see people really get in each other's faces about how that's like what a very specific part of, I guess, every industry is like, where I don't know, just 2 people that are super knowledgeable are just like not necessarily trying to big dick each other, but like, no, you're wrong because of this one thing you neglected to think about. You get it with guitars all the time.
It's like in like those movies that are set in ancient Greece, where it's like they're representing how a debate would happen. It's like, in fact, sir, it is you who is incorrect, and like rolls out a giant like scroll with grievances on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was very, very good. So yeah, lots of like pro audio stuff, some interesting bits and pieces. I saw Izotope came out with basically voice denoise for idiots. So it's like, if you've got a podcast and a crap microphone that you've got over here, you just put, I think it's IZA, Iza, great idea. You just like press a few buttons and it denoises stuff for you. Like if you're someone who doesn't know anything about audio.
Did they have a price tag on it?
I'll look it up for you right now, mate.
I'm sure.
I thought that was kind of a clever idea on their end.
To be honest, it's not hugely new because Waves beat them to that by about 2 years with the Clarity VX. Have you tried that?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
That's okay. So I had to edit a different podcast, cheating on Yunker Leon, but I had to edit a different podcast about a month ago.
So it's called VEA.
VEA. Okay.
Voice Enhancement Assistant.
Right. Well, I use Izotope IRX. IRX. That's something completely different. Izotope RX. For a lot of, I think I've got 9 or 8 or something. What am I on? Izotope. No introduction.
I'm on 10.
RX8. I've got. I probably due an upgrade soon. Anyway, I use the spectral denoise quite a lot, and I have a button programmed on the Stream Deck to be able to do that reasonably easy, which combines a bunch of button presses. And anyway, I use it as a an audio suite plugin, which for those of you that don't know or don't care, tough, I'll explain it, but it just means that you process the audio rather than run it as a real-time plugin. And that's cool, completely no problem. But I tried it on this other podcast edit, which was the only reason I had to do it was because it was like incredibly noisy, like unusably noisy. And so it took about an hour and a half to try and get 20 minutes of audio to be usable, which is that stuff usually takes like minutes, but it was quite a process on this one. Anyway, I went through the spectral denoise quite a lot. Just could not get it to work. And as a last-ditch effort, I put up the Waves Clarity VX, like the cheapest one, and it just did it straight away. It was one knob, literally turn the knob up, and it just does all. The only problem is, so like when I edit this podcast, Leon, I depending on where the audio comes from. So either if you don't send it to me, then it's usually fairly clean and it doesn't need like much noise reduction to it, if any. If I'm recording the audio off the stream and I've got to edit that channel, like right now I can hear a bit of noise in the background, and that needs to be tidied up. So the only reason
I sent it to you with voice denoise on it.
Well, you don't need to. I was going to say, like, the only reason I don't use the Waves one is because it's actually quite, it makes the bounce go like significantly longer to use it.
Right.
Whereas I can do everything with RX like a little bit quicker. So
yeah.
Anyway,
that's cool.
That's a bit of shit.
VEA.
That looks exactly
have clean
like
shape and boost.
The
so
Waves
it's the
one.
same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Izotope, they do stuff that works.
Izotope's awesome. Like magic tools. Sorry, did you see a price on that? I didn't see.
I didn't. Sorry, mate. I should look at what it costs in Australian dollary doos. What do they reckon? And we'll get onto some more guitar-oriented stuff after this. But yeah, if you're 45 Australian dollars.
What?
So,
man, that's nothing. That's far out.
Mental.
Like the RX bundle that I have cost me like $600 or something like that when I bought it. It was so expensive. So that's a steal.
Yeah.
Everyone probably should buy that. Even if you don't have a computer, just go buy that plugin. That's awesome.
just do it. Mate, what about guitars? Did you see anything that struck your fancy?
You know what? Specifically guitars, not really. I didn't look for many though, to be honest. But you were talking about that new Alex Lifeson one, right?
Indeed, I was. Let's take a look at him right here. So this is. Let me bring up some things in a second. But yeah, so it's made by Godin in Canada. It's a Strat. You can get it with a Floyd Rose or a Vega Trem. The most interesting thing is, do you like that, Troy?
That's the only thing I saw, like, remember from that guitar. Yeah, the inverted input jack.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And the pickup selector is up here, which kind of like an Explorer, right?
Yeah, I don't like that at all. That's one thing I hate about my Explorer is I can't get used to that. But
constantly knocking it.
What are your thoughts on the inverted input jack, mate?
Well, it's obviously better if he does it. So, who am I going to argue with the prog goat? But
it's a weird one, man. It sort of makes sense to me, but I don't.
Because, on a Strat jack cavity, they're often really tight and you need to have the jack positioned a certain way and it can like get moved around. I can see why he might have done it. I wonder if he did it to make it easier when he was using a wireless or something, but
I mean, that's probably also a factor. But yeah, and for those of you that are only listening to this via audio, so just imagine a Stratocaster input jack, the one that comes out of the front of the body, just literally taken out, reversed. So it's got a gigantic lump on the top of the guitar now, which is a little bit surprising at first, but it's not that big of a deal.
I kind of want to do it just because.
It's a very easy mod to make for anyone that wanted to try it.
Yeah,
like, it'll take you all about 5 minutes to do.
So spec-wise, I mean, maple, swamp ash, ebony, and hey, look, to their credit, stainless steel frets. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool. 12-inch radius. So it'd feel very, very Gibson-y for that.
But what scale length is it?
I imagine it's probably a Strat scale.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Doesn't say. Oh, here we go. Locking machine heads, 22 frets. You can get it with a Floyd or a Vega. Yeah, 25.5-inch. Comes with 10s, you know.
Yeah, it just feels like it's just a Strat. Like, I mean, is there anything else cool about it? It's no, with all due respect to Alex Lifeson, it just feels like it's a Strat. I mean, like
look,
a slightly
stainless.
Strat.
It's a Strat with stainless frets.
Yeah, I don't know.
And a Bill Lawrence humbucker.
How much money?
HSS for $4,000 Troy. But it's signed, you know. You get some Sharpie marks.
That's cool. I wonder what if I took a Mexican Strat to Alex Lifeson, if he'd sign it. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Massive issue with it. This.
Ooh, what's going on? That looks a bit weird.
Why? Why not just keep it a rectangle?
Yeah.
I get that it's a Floyd and you need the thing there, but that's a bit ug dog, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, you can understand it if it's like, if the body, well, like the body route doesn't change, right? Like the shape of the back plate really could just be there's no reason for it apart from being different.
Yeah.
Like, that's very strange. Anyway,
I'm curious to know, and quite a few people have kind of said this, if this is going to be the limited edition for the super fans who want to go and spend $4,000 on the Limelight guitar, basically.
Man, it could be worse. The super fans are going to buy that Jimmy Page amp, you know, like.
Oh my God.
But that's just the modern thing, right? Like, everyone's got I didn't realize the Slash Magnatone amp is like limited as well.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we need to bring up the Slash Magnatone amp, don't we? It's like big money.
I didn't actually see the price tag on it, to be honest.
I think it was sort of like beyond Friedman money, you know. There's Slash.
Oh, I've seen him before.
Looking like Slash.
He plays that song.
Where's the product?
Yeah, so anyway, while you bring that up, like,
yep.
You know, Slash, fucking Jimmy Page, all these guys just release a signature model for 6 times more than what any signature model has ever come out before and limited to a couple of them. Like, I guess that makes sense. I suppose, like, with the Jimmy Page one, it's different because it is very uniquely sourced parts. So what is that? That's almost $5,000 American. That's probably an $8,500 amp Australian for something that's kind of like, you know, I did hear a demo of it and it was kind of interesting. It reminded me weirdly enough of my Evil Robot, which is sort of like I mean, that's based on a Magnatone, I think, Tone Master Magnatone. I think that's the same company.
It's funny that it's SL100. It looks like it's going to be SLO100.
Yeah. But no, it's weird because it doesn't really 100% feel like that. But there's something about it that was very reminiscent to me. The not marshalliness of it, maybe. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Sorry, I'm just getting absolutely caned by some kind of advertising. So Troy, that amp is $1,000 more expensive than a Soldano SLO 100.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
An SLO 100 is already a very, very expensive amp, right? But hey, it's limited edition, you know. And there's enough.
What does a VH4 cost over there?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Something like that.
Very good question.
The thing is, man, it's weird because, you know, Cole Clark's here, everybody and their dog has one or two.
Yeah.
They're just like, and Matons and stuff. But I remember years ago, it's like Cole Clark's over there were like $3,500, $4,000. And
yeah. And it's like Marshalls in the UK. They're like properly just like cheap.
Yeah.
Versus in America, they're like getting a legit, buying a 2203X or something is like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which it kind of makes like Friedman pricing there makes sense.
Yeah,
where it's
absolutely.
Like, you know, they've got, you know, to segue in, you know, they're doing that Plex. So I think it's Dave's 60s 50 watt Plexi, basically that with a few switchable like bright caps and things like that, not in a post-phase inverter master.
Yep.
You know, and it's, I can't remember if it's cheaper than the like 1959 reissue or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, you know, if you're buying a new Marshall in America.
Yeah, look up the price. Well, how about I just do some work for a fucking change? Hang on, what is it called?
So anyway, a VH4 is $4,500 from Sweetwater.
45, did you say?
Yeah.
What was that
People
Slash amp? That was 4.8,
link.
right? So it's pretty similar price.
Yeah, pretty similar.
I don't see, maybe I'm just like not looking in the correct sort of a place. Gearnews.com. All right, this is where I'm going to see if they have a price tag.
Okay, so Troy, that Magnatone is $1,100 more US dollars than a 100 watt Plexi reissue. So You know, and the one, so that's kind of mental that in America on Sweetwater, basically an SLO 100 and a Marshall 1959 reissue are more or less the same price.
Right.
That is not the case here.
Yeah, man, everything's skewed. Until I see these numbers on paper, it's really difficult to put stuff into perspective sometimes. That Magnatone, though, look, to be honest, it probably feels like it's worth that cost if it's going to be limited and all that sort of stuff. And it's not exactly supposed to be a plexi, so
yeah,
I kind of get that. It's not going to be for me, but I get it. Whatever, spend your money, I suppose.
Anyway, how do you feel about Godin, Troy?
They are reasonably good guitars, actually. The ones I've played.
They were always sort of like, oh, they look a bit off.
Yeah, they're not cool.
They were always a for the money guitar. You get a lot of guitar for the money. It's a bit jarring seeing one for $4,000. Not saying that it's not worth it, obviously. Yep. You know, if like good craftsmanship, especially now, if it's made in North America, the most expensive part is the labor, and you got the affiliation, and it's limited and it's signed. So, be really curious to see if they come out with like a $2,000 version that's maybe got some different things on there. But I know a lot of people have.
Do they make stuff overseas as well? Because I don't remember if they do or not. I feel like everything's like made in Canada,
neither do
right?
I.
Because you could you could get a secondhand. I mean, going back a little bit, you can get a secondhand Godin for like $500 Australian or something. Less. Yeah, it wasn't that.
Shout out to friend of the podcast, Chris Gibbs, who was a Godin artist or endorsee, and
I think.
Yeah, when I think of Godin, I just think of Chris playing them because he's like the only person I know. Especially that like kind of seafoam green guitar that he had. So I'm just looking at the Godin website at the moment. So because who's the Canadian brand? Is it Seagull?
Yeah, Seagull.
Acoustics?
I think they're all related. And there's another one too. There's like three.
There's Larrivee, I think.
Well, that's not what I'm think with this one. I'm pretty certain Seagull and Godin and another brand are all like under a similar umbrella or something like that.
I see.
I think that's the case. I can't remember the
Maybe
other
they'll
one.
have the same distributor or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. But because like Seagull, I thought it might even be like Godin does the electrics and Seagull does the acoustics or something.
Right, interesting.
I think.
I'll fact check this one because we are a factually correct podcast over here. Seagull guitars are what started it all for Robert Godin. And it's probably Godin, isn't it?
It's with an I though, isn't it?
Godin? Yeah, I just always think that maybe it's from the French part of Canada. Maybe they're from Quebec.
I actually thought they were from the opposite side. I thought they were from like the west, like Vancouver sort of area.
Right.
I don't know why I know that or think that. That's weird.
Seagull is a sub-brand of Godin. So there you go.
Okay.
We've covered that on there. But, like, man, you know what it's kind of like? It would be like Alex Lifeson having a signature Godin is a little bit like Angus Young having a signature Maton.
Yeah.
People would get around it because like, oh, cool, Maton, but Alex Lifeson, 70s, it's Gibsons and guitars he put together and then a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I know a few people left comments saying that they ordered them. So, I know it'll be a good guitar. There's that. It's always like in that price range, you're talking like Sir Anderson money.
Mm-hmm. What you need to start doing, Leon? Oh, excuse me. You need to stop doing is yucking other people's yum.
Yeah. Hey, I'm trying not to do that. Just here to bring the knowledge to the street.
But yeah, what else? What else is on the to talk about list there, Uncle Leon?
Oh man. There was some cool amps, some cool guitars. There's always like cool stuff. It seems like everyone I know who went to the show said it seemed pretty healthy and like it was exciting to be there and not a massive drag, which is kind of cool. I know some people saw the FM9 Mark II that a few people were playing around with.
Oh, okay.
With the biggest scribble strips, which is cool. Interesting because that hasn't been announced at the time of doing this podcast, but it's out there in the wild. Maybe it was a strategic leak. I was surprised there wasn't really anything from Line 6 or Boss or... Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, I guess the last Line 6 thing that came out was the, what's it called, the HX1 or the single stomp thing?
Yeah.
Boss is just always releasing new stuff, though. Did you try their mod pedals, by the way? Like their multi-mod thing? Have you tried those?
Boss?
Yeah.
Oh, like the MD 200 and
Yeah,
500? Yeah.
Are they good?
The 500 is really good, yeah. That one's because it has the dimension effect in there
Right.
and a bunch of other kind of legacy stuff that the 200 doesn't have.
Yep.
The 200 series pedals are like they're awesome, but there's something about them where like the 500 series ones are like they're a totally different format, right? They look like pro. They kind of look more like the Strymon stuff. But yeah, the 200s are a bit like nowhere. I just really like the old 20 series, like the DD20, which I still have. And
I think
yeah.
Sorry, the reason I ask is, and just to jump in with something else before we move on to the next one, did you see the new Fender RJM switcher?
Yeah, actually, that was pretty interesting because it's RJM designed. Hey,
Yes, but it's
I've got-
it's like $750 Australian, man. It's not that expensive.
yeah.
So it's a loop switcher. I think it's got 4 mono loops and a stereo loop. Everything is
You can change the order.
Yeah.
It's like a matrix switcher. Yeah, that I would actually kind of really like to try because I'm borrowing a giant pedal board at the moment that's got an RJM mastermind on it. It's like, yeah, this is, if you're going to do a board like that, having something like that makes a lot of sense. But I'll bring that Fender thing up in a second. That is something I do want to try. Also, the award for like, is it brilliant? Is it idiotic? Was like Neural DSP's booth. They just didn't show up and they just had a big thing saying soon. So people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And other people are going, well, people are talking about it, so it's obviously good advertising.
Right. I didn't see that that's what it was. Like I saw one picture of Neural didn't even bother to show up, da-da-da. Like I just thought they literally didn't show up, I didn't see that there was a soon sign. That's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going on there, hey? Like just the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So they're advertising, they're on it. Like everyone who uses plugins knows, oh yeah, just Neural DSP. Yeah, I have the Neural DSP thing. So they have done brilliantly well to become the standard basically for guitar amp plugins, which does bring me around to something else with capturing the 2 Notes genome. Did you get you've got a bunch of their stuff. Did they just send you a free license?
Yeah, I got one 2 days ago. I haven't installed it yet, but
Nice.
Yeah, I watched a couple of demos. It sounded pretty cool. To be honest, I'm a bit over guitar plugins. Like I have the one that really changed stuff was Tone X, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because even in its cheapest, stockiest form, I've used that a lot for guitar sounds and bass sounds. I've used it in the studio for like people that show up to do guides. And they just, even with their pedal boards, like you just plug the pedal board into that as the amp, and it sounds very, very good. And for bass as well, I've used it for a lot of bass stuff. So yeah, I'm keen to try it because I've got it for free. I just haven't bothered to install it yet, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
let me bring up this Fender Switchboard. I know you got to run in a second as well.
Yeah,
so
I've got like 10 minutes. The Genome, so like that's basically just like what's in the Opus, but as a plugin, right?
Yeah, but you can load Neural amp modeler captures into it, which I think a lot of people...
Oh, I didn't realize you could do that with it. That's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, my main criticism of this thing that Fender have put out is that it's not all black.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. I knew, yeah,
so,
it's gold.
But kudos to them for just doing a different color.
Yeah.
Because you put that in the middle of your board and it stands out and you can see it a lot easier.
Yeah. Let me tell you one feature about that I quite like, even though it's not that big of a deal, but it has I think there's like a volume boost built into it. So I think that's really simple, but to be able to like put your distortion pedal on and then just hit the boost pedals and make it like a solo boost and have that anywhere in the order and then program a patch where it's like I could program that with a few pedals to do exactly what I was doing with my AX8.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. It's sort of like being just enough is nice. And the cool thing is, having a MIDI switcher set up, it's never been a mainstream thing where you can just go into a normal guitar store and buy one.
Yep.
You've either got to go like RJM, and hey, everything RJM I have tried has been amazing. They do phenomenal stuff. They've got great customer support. It'd be interesting to have them on the podcast at one point to talk about all these kind of things. But just the fact that a kid can walk into a music store and buy that and a few pedals, and you've got basically a pro rig
Yep.
that's mega flexible is pretty awesome. I think
man.
at least one of the loops is stereo as well.
Yeah, I think you're correct. So like I saw that, and I just want to build a board for myself, like just a guitar board. I just haven't decided how big I want it to be and what I want to be on there, because I've got a little thing that I built the other week, and that's kind of cool.
Yep.
But I've got a True Tone CS7 just sitting there unused, so
Just
I can
hanging
incorporate
out.
that. I'm just trying to work out, and I've got a few I've got a few other pedals I already own / I want to buy. So anyway, I saw that and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. I could see myself using that effectively.
Yep.
So
There was another one, the Palmer Supreme Soaker. I've actually got one.
oh, okay, I didn't see that.
I just haven't done a video with it yet, but I feel like they showed it at one of the Euro trade shows last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of properly out now. Sorry, I'll just bring it up so you can see it. So
oh yeah,
it's like an analog version, I guess, of like the Ox or the Boss Wazza. So it doesn't have IR loading, but you've got, their analog speaker sims. But what I thought was interesting is there's this speaker tone thing on there where it like changes the impedance response to your cab. So you can use it to load, to attenuate, I think up to 150 watts. And it's got a microphone in and like stereo outs and a mono out stereo in effects loop. So if you're doing a wet, dry, wet thing, you just
see, right.
Yeah, it's quite clever. So the fact that's stereo, it's kind of like, if you were using this with a rack or something, this is the thing that Bob Bradshaw wish existed in the early 80s, It's kind of a do-it-all solution thing. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. The fact there's no IRs is surprising. But I guess that's fine, because I'm sure it's different, but the thing that reminds me of is that Rivera Rock Crusher.
Yes.
But that thing that you have like a graphic EQ where it has like suggested settings where you can dial in to get it to sound like a Greenback or a V30 or something like that. But I almost bought one years ago.
I remember that.
And then I got the Torpedo so I could use IRs, because that made more sense to me at the time. So yeah, I don't know. That's a cool idea though. I like with the exception of the no IRs, I think the rest of it's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just figured that would be, we were mentioning earlier how it's just a utility. So, I mean, good on them for doing their thing that they've kind of always done. But yeah, I know it's immediately one of those things where it's like, hey, if you need IRs, this isn't for you, which is a shame, because there's, a reamp and a bunch of other stuff on there. But yeah, it'll be interesting just having an attenuator is pretty handy for me. I don't have one. I've got a load box, but not an attenuator. So I tried out with the Deluxe. I'm like, yeah, if you crank the speaker attenuation, you can crank the snot out of the amp and it's not very loud out of a speaker. Right. So that's kind of very, very nice.
I feel like Jason did a attenuator shootout a little while ago, which was really interesting. Because I think
there's a Zen Amps one.
Oh, Zen, is it? It might be. Maybe it's just that. That's
maybe Jace did one as well.
I've got my the Reload that I got instead of that Rock Crusher. That's got the attenuator.
Yeah, that's an attenuator.
That one was in the loop of my KHE switcher for a very long time, and it got a lot of use. But I've taken it out because I was getting some weird feedback somewhere, and I kind of, this was at the end of last year, so I tore the whole rack apart, put the bits back together that were necessary, and then just neglected the rest. Like, I haven't had time to just fully nerd out and troubleshoot and re-rack stuff. It's just, it's like on the to-do list. Hopefully I'll get to it before the middle of the year. But that one I really want to look at, because it's very useful to have a decent attenuator, at least in my situation. And then because I was uncertain if it was actually the unit was faulty or something like that, I was looking at a few other ones, like the is it Tone King or King Tone King? No,
the Iron Man.
That's the one. Yeah, I feel like it's the Iron something.
I've heard that
cool.
one's great.
So I think his one showed up secondhand, but it was like maybe their smaller version, so wouldn't have worked for this setup. But that looks cool. One thing that's cool about the two notes though is you can turn it down to like absolutely nothing, which
Yes.
when I made a few Tonex profiles was really great. Just meant that I could profile stuff with like just the head and, give
Yep.
it load and crank the amp down. So I quite like that. But anyway.
That's awesome. All right, mate. I think we've come to the end of this wonderful discussion
Look at this
about
cool dude over
post-NAMM.
here. Far out. I'm just outclassed. I'll put my sunglasses on as well because they're right here.
Now, kids, what you want to know about guitar tone is all this stuff's important, but none of it matters if you can't really just get up there and cut heads. So practice, and also while you're practicing, tell yourself not to care too much, and mostly just see ball, hit ball. That's what you got to be like. You go to play a guitar solo, mate, just rip it up. It'll be sick. And on that note, Troy, see ya.
See you later, everyone. Peace.